sexual harassment and violence in laboral environments. When we talk about equal rights between men and women, we think about feminism. The feminism first wave started in 1920 with the suffragists. They wanted women to get the right to vote. In this period of time, there was no feminist art created, but the ideology started to emerge, and it was the background of this new art movement created in the late 1960s. Within this period of time, there were some women artists that possibly influenced the feminist art apogee. They were known as proto-feminists. Talking about the feminism and the problems that it tries to solve, it's important in a student community because it creates consciousness and the beginning of change. Sexual harassment is a big problem for our society. Even many campaigns and movements that try to eliminate it were created. Women still do not feel secure in liberal and academic environments. For example, in our own school there have been movements trying to get rid of this, starting with blogs and campaigns. If someone lives with stress and concern every day, their creativity and performance in a daily activity decreases. Many girls and women live in violence and insecurity even in places that should be secure, like offices and schools or other of their surroundings. This problem is not only relevant to female students but also male, because as a society we should all fight for improving each other's conditions and livings. Some arts are
Jenny Holzer, Lithograph on Paper, 1979 to 1982. This work is part of Jenny Holzer's series of inflammatory essays, a group of lithographies with paragraphs of text that contain aggressive and challenging messages, with different and provocative topics. Holzer's main visual element is text. She uses language to establish values and change the viewer's perspective. This chosen lithography shows us a scenario that talks about the denigration of women in a world ruled by men. Sadly, it is common to hear that one man took advantage of his employee in order for her to keep her job or get better opportunities. Tech's main purpose is to make people reflect about different scenarios for women.
This is a picture called Everybody Has His Own Point of View. In 1975, this photography participated in an exhibition named Magna Feminism, Art and Creativity, in celebration of the International Women's Year at the Austrian Folklore Museum. However, the jury consisted exclusively of men, to which the feminist artist protested, among whom standed Brigitte Jurgensen, a Viennese artist with a long history with photography. She portrays herself as a vulnerable, docile, and objectified woman, facing towards a wall with the text "Everyone has his point of view." She exposes herself as many other people expose themselves every day in their work environment in which they are abused. The image overall is very reminiscent of what someone would see while having sexual intercourse with someone who is submissive yet unwilling to participate.
Women in all over the world face sexual harassment on a daily basis. Now, imagine if this happens anywhere, how it could be in a working environment. It can be as a simple comment or a nasty and disrespectful one from any coworker. With this clothesline, the artist tries to have a very plain and ordinary approach in which anyone can answer or draw whatever they feel in that specific moment. There are 5 main questions. Have you ever experienced sexual harassment or violence? What have you done to prevent it? And how do you find joy after experiencing it? Aware that this is an actual problem that is happening today, and this is not going to disappear from one day to another, that it needs to be faced and confronted.
Marina Abramovic has pioneered in the use of performance as a visual form. The body has always been both her subject and her medium. On this performance, she showed how people can be violent and abusive when they are free from all responsibility. But the moment they have to face the consequences, they fear and run. They feel superior until the victim speaks up. This is used as a metaphor with sexual assault and harassment, especially on the workspace, since women who get abused are usually scared to speak up, so the abuser has all the liberty to harass the victim. On this performance, Marina shows how much violence and harm the human is being capable when the guilt and responsibility are out of the frame. Sexual harassment is a part of abuse to the human being, mostly women. This work of art can be interpreted as how victims need to speak up and actually blame the abuser, not themselves.
In some places, women are treated as trophies or objects. Serrucha, a Mexican artist, uh, constantly fights against the male chauvinism that soaks the Mexican society. With this particular photo, we want to make the statement that women are not obligated or seen as a piece of meat in a liberal mean. That any woman is not forced to dehumanize the person that is beneath all the standards that are imposed by force by the society world and stereotypes that mold around what people want to see. The pieces of Serrucha are usually displayed in public places, so there is a real reflection on what it is shown. So this also evokes what actually feels to be in a working environment and be judged every day.
What Were You Wearing? By Jen Brockman and Dr. Mary. The What Were You Wearing Survivor art installation displays clothing that survivors have donated to the exhibition. This exhibition started at the university with outfits donated by students. These outfits are accompanied by text. The text reads with the testimony of a victim. Then this became a bigger movement, including all types of environments and situations. This piece is included in our exhibition because it shows that no matter what are you wearing, abusers will still do it. It shows how society needs to stop blaming the victim. It also shows testimonies specifically talking about how they were raped by co-workers or in work environments. The fact that the clothes that the victim was wearing are right there humanizes the testimony and makes it a lot stronger. The exhibition has a lot of different cases of sexual abuse, but all of them show a different side of this. Showing the clothing is almost like putting a face on the story, and the fact that a lot of these are on workspaces show a part of what women go through these days. How can they can't be safe anywhere.
This is a work of art made by the Gao brothers. It's called A Woman Carried Away by Three Men Who Look Like Mao Zedong. This sculpture portrays three formally dressed men taking advantage of a helpless and naked woman. The way they have dressed give the scene the tone of a formal or laboral environment, while the actions of the characters clearly depict abuse and harassment. Back in 2015, there was a very large feminist art exposition scheduled in the Ginkgo Space Art Gallery in Beijing. Its title was Elimination of Violence Against Women on China, treating topics on domestic, laboral, and other forms of violence. However, this exhibition was cancelled by the Chinese higher authorities. The Gao brothers had some of their artworks in this exhibit, among which standed this controversial sculpture. They tend to have a very politically oriented artworks, often with Mao Zedong as a recurring character. This as an attempt to let conservatives view modern Chinese history while admitting its shortcomings. This sculpture was brought to our exhibition as a demonstration of how sexual violence in work and other social environments is an issue in different parts of the world, and also demonstrate the negligence of other cultures have on the issue by canceling or censoring the art forms that decide to critique them.
Eve Sussman, The Rape of the Sabine Women, 2007. It is an opera film based in the ancient Roman myth. The photography is inspired by the paintings of Poussin, Rubens, and David. It is set in the 1960s, at the beginning of the feminist art movement and the most remarkable political and social changes. In this film, Roman men are featured as government men. while women are represented as the butcher's daughters. While the original myth talks about the birth of a civilization, this film suggests the end of a utopia. Married life is represented with a perfect image, with multiple children, love triangles, and a lot of tension. We chose this film because of the clear feminist argument, the men's intellectual and sexual domination above women, and the rebellion of the imposed traditional roles.
In our exposition, we want to make women feel like they're part of something, like they should not be afraid to be a victim and they have to share it with the world. We want to stop this violence but also help the victims overcome what has happened to them.